it's your turn to...
Oh, is it for me?
Consider yourself fired.
Why are you winking at me?
Consider yourself fired.
Hello, and welcome to the JT and Drew Show. I'm JT.
And I'm Drew.
And we're two nobodies talking about nothing.
Consider yourself fired.
All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JT and Drew Show. We have a lot to discuss today. I am sitting here with the Pop-Tart of the day.
Heyo.
I was going to go with Jesse. Shut your mouth.
Oops.
No, I'm just kidding. Hey, what's up, bud? Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, man. Feels like I've not slept since the last show.
It seems that way, but you took a power nap.
Yeah, sure did. It just seems like the older you get, the less rest it feels like you get. I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know. When you start waking up and going, oh, my back, then you're like, oh, he slept real good last night.
Yeah, you're not lying. Sheesh.
So, well, it's good, man. Everything going your way?
So far, yeah, no complaints. Woke up. I'm here. Still got all 8 of my fingers and 6 of my toes. So
that's what I'm talking about.
No complaints here, mate. How about you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm ready to dive into today's topic. It
sounded pretty interesting. You left us on a cliffhanger last time.
I tried to, maybe try to keep some people intrigued and keep them coming back. But Mark Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan's show.
Oh, okay.
Not too long ago. And had talked about well, let's just go ahead and play the clip.
Okay.
What's that? We don't have clip money. Oh. Well, we're not going to play the clip.
Yikes. No beautiful bean footage for us.
Thanks, Bushes. Yeah. So Mark Zuckerberg went on to Joe Rogan, and you can listen to it. It's on YouTube, and I'm sure it's on TikTok. And I'm sure it's on all of the... But where he had said that the FBI had came over to the company and talked to them about, hey, there could potentially be some fake news, false advertisements, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so during the election, they kind of shut down a lot of the right-wingers, or however you want to call them, the Republicans' advertisements or statements that were being pushed about Joe Biden or Hunter Biden, which was a big one.
Yeah, I remember that was toward the end there of the election. The Hunter Biden story was real, well, it was real big, but yeah, it wasn't getting a lot of media coverage.
Yeah, that wasn't getting a lot of traction like it would if, Trump was an extremist or...
was raided by the FBI or something like that.
Yeah, so towards the end of 2022, the presidential elections, big tech and liberal media is what it says. Outlets suppressed the New York Post, which is not the New York Times, I'm come to find out.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Post reported that had shed light on shady business deals of Hunter Biden, the candidate Joe Biden's son, which I think if that were to be pushed out, especially being on Facebook, where a lot of people who were coming up and getting their election news and whatnot, I think that may have swayed the people who were on the fence.
Sure. I mean, think about it. There's all these news outlets, right? CNN, Fox, MSN, MSNBC, CNBC, ABC, whatever, all the alphabets.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, especially younger folks, are scrolling through Facebook, are scrolling through TikTok or Twitter, Instagram, all these social media platforms, and they'll see the headlines there, and that's kind of, hey, that's where I got my news for the day.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they were, if I'm getting this correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the FBI had come to Zuckerberg and was trying to get him to suppress some of that information.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to get his company to.
Okay.
Because they thought that the Russians were coming in and trying to manipulate the election.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, as a CEO and all of your other managers, as a company, what do you do when the FBI comes in and says, hey, you need to watch this, catch it, don't let it gain a lot of tractions or whatnot?
I mean, it's definitely intimidating. You know, if the FBI came to us and was like, hey, be careful what you put on the JT and Drew show. Just a heads up. A heads up, there's some misinformation, disinformation, whatever we want to call it this year. And just letting you know.
Wink, I think wink. I would laugh. That's just me. But I think I would do that even if the local police came in.
Hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, the FBI being corrupt and this and that. I don't think that everybody in the organization is corrupt or is a bad person or has bad morals or whatever. I don't think that. However,
no, not at all.
I do think there are some corrupt individuals at the top.
Definitely. Yeah, leading it.
Mm-hmm. And that's terrible.
Being in the eye of the people that get pushed out to Congress when they go in and they try to have a hearing.
Yeah.
And a lot of their answers are the ones that they post, the ones that we see, because I don't watch C-SPAN. But a lot of what they post is, well, we can't really talk about an open investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get that, but that wasn't the question.
I'm all for, if you're in that line of work, police, law enforcement, whatever it is, at whatever level, federal, state, city, I don't care. Just do your job. Have your own political views, and you and I had to deal with this being in the military. You can have your own political views. They don't have to be the popular one. They can be the popular one. They can be different from the guy sitting next to you. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But when it comes to your job, that doesn't play a factor into it.
Right. It shouldn't. But what it seems to be doing is it seems that these individuals that are at the top are pretty much playing the bully of what the people in power want them to do right now.
Yeah.
And that's not the point of the FBI.
No, and it even says here, I'm looking at the notes, it says, according to that article, that, Zuckerberg had come on Joe Rogan's show and they were talking, and Mark Zuckerberg admitted that Facebook limited the bombshell Hunter Biden laptop story ahead of the 2020 election because the FBI had warned him about, quote, Russian propaganda, end quote.
Yeah.
So they're not even saying that, hey, it came out that this was, in fact, without a doubt, Russian propaganda, so we probably shouldn't just peddle that information. It was, hey, there could be misinformation out there, so we just decided to decide what is true or what isn't true and limit it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that against the First Amendment? Free press?
Yes and no, right? Because this is a private organization. It's a business.
Okay.
And I struggled with that as I was reading through this because my instinct was exactly that. Hold on a second, you're suppressing people's free speech. If I want to go out there and post about it and say, hey, look what happened with this Hunter Biden laptop thing. It's terrible. This is what they're finding out, blah, blah, blah. And then they silence me. Yeah, I'd be pretty upset too. However, if I go into a restaurant and the sign outside says, hey, no shirt, no shoes, no service, and I'm not wearing shirt or shoes, and I get refused service, well, it's a private organization. They have the right to make their own rules and tell me you're refuse service if I don't play by them. Similar with this, Facebook or Meta is owned by Mark Zuckerberg and his team and all that, and they make the rules for their platform.
But did they make the rules, or did they get bullied into doing this?
Well, I think they definitely got bullied into doing this.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm sure bully is the wrong word to use, but
persuaded, intimidated,
yeah.
Lured, I don't know, yeah. Let's see here. So it says Joe Rogan had asked Zuckerberg about his Facebook moderation of that post in particular about the Hunter Biden story, the laptop story. Mm-hmm. And Zuckerberg told Rogan that Facebook took warnings from the FBI about foreign influence in the 2020 election and the content of the story seriously. So he went on to say that the FBI basically came to Facebook saying, hey, just so you know, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election, and we have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump that's similar to that, so be vigilant. So it's not saying that they came to him and necessarily said, hey, don't post these stories or don't let these stories be posted. They were just kind of giving him the nudge, the wink, wink. Hey, be careful. There's a lot of this misinformation out there. I'd hate for you to be a part of that whole shenanigans.
Yeah, but he pretty much just threw himself under the bus saying, yeah, we did this.
Yeah, they decided to scrap the stories altogether. And what's interesting is they did that, and Zuckerberg's quoted on saying that he doesn't want Facebook to be, quote, the ministry of truth. So he didn't want Facebook to be deciding what was true or what was false.
Mm-hmm.
But they did.
Yeah, they sure did. So, in the MSN article, both Zuckerberg and the Twitter CEO, Jackie Dorsey, expressed regret for their actions limiting the distribution of the post's reporting. So, you did it, and now you're coming back saying, I guess we shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. It's already done. The damage is done. The damage is here. We're living through it.
Yeah.
So, everybody makes mistakes. I get that. But you should not let somebody come in and tell you what should or shouldn't be on a platform if it's not hateful speech or whatever the radical wants to post out there.
Yeah. Well, and you have to take a step back. We're looking at it from 300 feet right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it from the 3,000 foot range. Look at it from the 30,000 foot. Knowing what we know today, and we'll go off the trail for just a second, but it wasn't that long ago we had the FBI go and raid President Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence.
Right, which is still hot in the news as of this recording.
Yep. And the current White House administration claimed at the time, hey, we had no knowledge of this. This is all the DOJ. We don't know anything about it. Well, not long after that, we found out they had complete knowledge of it. The president, in fact, signed off on it, even though he claimed that I had no clue. I say all that to say, or to, I guess, get folks to think about, it got me thinking about anyway. you have the FBI come to the social media platforms, and they're, hey, we're giving warnings. This might be out there. Do with it what you will, but be very careful. Okay, that's one thing. But then if you have the sitting president, I don't want to say necessarily weaponizing, but weaponizing the DOJ, the FBI, it kind of puts, what do you say, like connect the dots, right? So if I'm connecting the dots, I could say, and this could be a total conspiracy theory, but I could say, okay, the sitting president is ordering these departments, the FBI in this case, to go and take out his political opponents.
Yeah, not just the FBI, but DOJ in a whole.
Yeah. Hey, I definitely want this guy to be smeared. I need you to not post stuff on social media, or at least not let it get very much attention as it's circulated when it comes to negative things about me, but let's do some negative things to my opponents.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that is exactly what happened, but putting those dots out there and starting to connect them, it kind of paints that picture.
If you want to see it that way, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I have to say that.
Sure.
Because, I try to do my best, and I've been failing a lot about getting both sides of the news media, right? So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, because that's pretty much what I do. I'm just on the go, and I'll throw in a podcast every now and again just to listen to it.
Sure.
But and I'm going to name drop one of them that I do listen to, which is Dan Bongino. And he is very right thinking. I wouldn't say he's an extreme, but he is a lot more far right than other people that I listen to.
Okay.
So, but he's painting the same picture that you're talking about, where the president is pretty much just opening up the DOJ, the entire DOJ, to smearing his opponents, so that you won't look and see what he's doing and what he's failing at. So maybe possibly his numbers could be boosted back up for this midterm, and they don't have this red wave rush, I guess everyone's calling it.
Yeah.
To come back and take over the House and the Senate. So, but there are other outlets that are painting it as this is all the previous president's fault because he held these particular documents, right? So he should not have done that. He should have handed everything over to the historians, whoever he hands them over to.
Yeah, and the National Archive people.
National Archives, and then they will determine what needs to be held there and what he can keep. I disagree with that. I do agree that previous presidents, all the way down, should be able to hold documents and keep them in a secured location. If unless it's certain items like nuclear codes or intel or anything like that, then that needs to be turned over so we can build off of what they've discovered in their reign, I guess you can call it. Well, that's what I like to call it. But just for this one particular person who rocked the boat at the White House in the whole political party, who is not a politician, now he's enemy of the state, and everybody who ever voted for him is now a tyrant or some sort of, they're calling it now, semi-fascist, which that doesn't make any sense. Because previous presidents, and Barack Obama, George Bush, Dick Cheney, President Clinton, they all held documents when they left the White House, which I don't understand why, with the previous president, why this is an issue, because every president's done it, and every president's going to do it. Joe Biden's going to do it when he leaves office. You know, it shouldn't be a problem for Joe Biden to hold documents when he leaves and then releases them as he sees fit. There should be no problem with that.
Yeah. Well, and I know we're in a rabbit hole, but even in this Mar-a-Lago case, we're seeing that who was it? The FBI or whoever from the Department of Justice came over weeks prior. They knew that the documents were there. They even knew that they were being safeguarded by the Secret Service.
Mm-hmm.
And they told them to upgrade the locks and all this stuff. Yes. If it was as big of a deal as they are making it out to be, why would they have not confiscated that information then or tried to prosecute then? Why would they? Hey, go ahead. I know you have the stuff. Just go ahead and make sure you're keeping it safe.
Well, here's a conspiracy thought.
Yeah.
When they went over to tell him to change the lock, maybe they got a glimpse of what was in there to then put that information on the warrant to go and do it.
Well, we'll never know because everything's been redacted.
Yeah, pretty much.
And let me say, and you know some of this as well, being a security clearance holder, a lot of this stuff is wordsmithing. They're throwing out words to the general public that may not completely understand this, and it sounds scary. It sounds bad.
Mm-hmm.
Secret. Top secret. Sensitive compartmentalized information. Classified. They're using these words and making it sound like, there's only a handful of people in our government that have access to this stuff. And the fact that Trump, has this information is just so damning. No, there's not. A lot of people that hold those clearances. I and you hold clearances.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you hold the clearance doesn't mean you have access to all of that information. You still have to have a need to know.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I do not have a need to know for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I have I don't want to know for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the more you know, the higher on the target rack you are.
Yeah, the more you know, the higher on the target you are, or the higher the target you are. The more you know, the more you have to keep quiet about. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not as like, oh my gosh, what is the former president of the United States doing with top secret information? Do you think he just, hey, you're no longer the president, and he brain dumps all of that stuff?
Yeah. No, you don't.
No. It's just ludicrous to me. But again, people who don't know any better, and when they're being told these things or hearing these things on the media, it's just like, oh my gosh, that's super scary. Yeah, this guy doesn't need to have any of this stuff. What in the world is going on?
Yeah.
You kidding me? It's nonsense.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to try and jump out of this rabbit hole, but I'm staying towards the top at this point. The current president has kind of not revoked. Maybe it is revoked, but he's not letting Trump keep his presidential powers to say, hey, I have declassified these. That's why I have them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and anyways, hopping out of this round. Oh, okay.
Declassifying stuff, it's not as crazy as people think, too.
No. Well, not for the president, because all he has to do is just do this little
Omni.
I've declassified this, and
yeah,
there it is. And I'm sure there's a little bit more to it. I'm sure there's some paperwork that has to go into it, but
and people forget too that at Mar-a-Lago he had, when he was president, an active SCIF, so he was able to hold documents that were high classifications.
Yeah.
and a skiff as well. Holy cow. You don't have to just have a super high top of the line clearance to get in one. Now, if they're going to discuss super high clearance stuff and you don't have the clearance, then you have to step out, and then when they're done, you can go back in. But it's not anything super scary, crazy. You know, there's guys at the door with guns blocking it and all that. Like, no. Yeah. And I know that from personal experience. It's not that scary.
No. It could be frustrating.
Sure.
But it's not scary.
So all this, like you said, the Twitter and Facebook dude, you know, regretting their decision to limit some of that information. And we find out later on from a lot of these media outlets, New York Times, Washington Post, NBC, Politico, that, that laptop story, it's actually true.
Yeah.
And all this stuff about using that as evidence for election meddling, yeah, that wasn't the case. But hey, it's convenient, right? If I can just, even if I know it's true and it's damning information, if I can just get it to go away for a while so I can do whatever it is that I'm trying to do at that time, great.
Yeah. And then we'll reattack it at a later date when I'm already in office.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell everybody that they're conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think the government should collaborate with big tech?
I think it's a slippery slope.
I think so too.
You look at places like North Korea, for example.
Oh, you're going way out there.
Where they control everything in their little slice of heaven, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know your ABCs. I'll put that information out there. I want you to think that this place is the enemy. I will only feed you that information. I won't feed you the whole picture. I will show you what you should know based on what I think you should know.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't know.
Exactly. And it's not just that one country, which is super extreme, if you've ever seen any of the documentaries. But China does the same thing. Russia does the same thing. We do the same thing. I'm not going to say that we don't. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the world that we don't know about.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. I just saw recently, what was it, today, yesterday, I don't know, sometime this week, that I think it's our elementary schools, and some states are suffering more than others, but we're finding out that kids in the lower grades of grade school are suffering more now than they have in the past, like 20 years when it comes to like math and English class, their reading, their math skills. And you would think, hey, okay, we need to focus on that. We need to bring that stuff back up.
Yeah. Well, you would think. Some
of the schools I found out, yeah, that's a problem here, but we are going to be focusing on gender studies instead.
That's big city pushing all that stuff. You're not going to see it in the smaller communities.
Yeah, but
hopefully.
It's another way of, well, we want you to know what we want you to know. And again, I'm not saying that that's only one side of the aisle, not the other side or vice versa. Because I remember in the public high school that I went to, what class was it? It was some kind of history or social studies, something. And they taught about Lucy. I don't know if you remember Lucy, our oldest ancestor. She was an ape of sorts.
Yeah, I know Lucy.
And how we all descended from Lucy and all this stuff. And that's what they taught. Okay, well, me in my head, I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that. But obviously I'm in this class. I have to do the assignments and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the private Christian school for my junior and senior year, I was kind of surprised that we did a class on world religions. And it was a Christian school. We had chapel on Wednesdays. We read through the Bible. But in this particular class, we read a book that shed light on every world religion that exists.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to say, hey, this is the only one out there. You have to know this, you have to believe it, or else. It was, hey, yes, this is a Christian school, but this is what else is out there. This is what other people believe. And they took the approach that, hey, it's kind of wise to learn a little bit about all these other world religions, theologies. What is monotheism? What is deism? What is polytheism? What are all these things, so that we have an understanding. And I can see, hey, when JT and I are talking, or me and this other guy that I've never met before, or if I'm traveling and I'm in this other country, I can have an understanding of where they're coming from. They presented all the information.
Yeah. Well, as a private school should, if that's in their curriculum, right?
Yeah.
So, and I probably messed that word up, but that's where you get the division of religion and state, religion and school.
Yeah.
So,
and that's just one topic that I'm trying to draw that example to.
It's a bad topic, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be science class. In our science class, we learned this one way of this thing. And the other science class at the other school, they learn all the different approaches or all these other theories that whatever.
Okay.
But trying to draw the connection to, should big tech be involved or collaborate with the government, or vice versa? Should the government collaborate with big tech and censorship? It's a very slippery slope.
Yeah. No, it really is. But when big tech goes out to other parts or other countries, and not, so if a U.S., let's just say Twitter, because that's huge, mm-hmm. right? Twitter's all over the world. It started here in America. But it is in every country that you can imagine. So should that big tech company be stopping information flowing to those additional countries if those countries want it to? Because they don't have a constitution, they don't have the same rights that we have here in this country? Well,
again, I'll default to that company being that slope. Company.
Yeah.
If we started our podcast and it's strictly hey, we're going to talk about Republican ideas. We're both Republicans, and we're only going to talk about Republican things.
Don't put that hate on me, Ricky Bummy.
We're only going to push out the Republican narrative. We're only going to this and that. That's our prerogative.
Yeah.
Now, we don't do that, but
we'll try not to.
But that's a choice that we could make.
Yeah.
Same could be true if we were Democrats or independents or didn't have any political view or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these private companies, I mean, technically, yeah, they could say, well, we want this type of information, not that type of information. But people have to have that understanding as well.
Okay. Do you think that people should just be able to say what they want on media platforms, social media platforms? Let me clarify.
In what regard? How do you mean?
Let's just say general. Just in general, do you think people should just be able to say what they want?
Yes and no.
Okay. And why yes?
Yes, in the sense that it's a social media platform. It's another form of communication. If two people are having a discussion, let them have their discussion. If you have an opinion, you can put your opinion out there. No, in the sense that, what are the community guidelines? If the community guidelines say, hey, no violent speech or rhetoric or no inciting violence or this or that, and you're out there saying, hey, who wants to join my club? We're going to go shoot up a location, or we're going to go destroy this or that. Well, okay, now you're kind of breaking the rules of that platforms.
Okay, but if there were no community guidelines?
No community guidelines, it's just an open forum to do whatever the heck you want, then what's the issue? Now, I don't necessarily agree, right? If people are out there and they go, hey, we're going to go destroy this location because we want to, who wants to sign up and come with me? Okay. But there's repercussions too. If the government is monitoring that, and then they go and stop you and you go, hey, you shouldn't have been monitoring that. Why were you eavesdropping on my conversation? Well, you put it on a social media, a public forum, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, yes and no.
Okay. I mean, that's a good answer. I would disagree with you.
Okay.
I do not think people should be able to say what they want. Well, okay, yes and no on that one. Because if there's no guidelines, no anything, and say I'm just a really hateful person, because there's people out there that are just super hateful.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be able to say, go kill yourself, or something's wrong with you, you don't need to exist anymore, right?
Right.
I don't think people should be able to say that. Common sense stuff, or at least you would think it'd be common sense stuff. But me personally, I'm not a negative person. But at the same time, I believe that if you want to say the sky is purple and not blue, and that's what you see, who am I to tell you any different?
Yeah.
So,
but
then, I guess yes and no.
Where do you
draw the line?
Where do you draw the line? But bringing it full circle, should government collaborate? Say you tell that person, you know what, I hate you. Go off yourself. I don't care. And the person does it.
Who's responsible?
Are you responsible? Did you commit a crime? Or were you free speeching it?
Yeah, well, true.
And then again, here in the United States, like you brought up, okay, we have free speech. What if this was somebody in Germany that said that, or you told that to them, or it's very
slippery slope.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Hey man, I just take it from you sometimes.
So, is this censorship at its finest?
I think it could be. I think it could be a lot more intense.
Yeah.
Not like camping, but I think there's. Oh my gosh, I believe it could be a lot worse than what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, everybody's still able to say more or less kind of what they think, act on free speech and whatnot. As long as it doesn't incite violence. But it could definitely be a lot worse. And do I think it's censorship at its finest? No, I don't think it is. But it's getting there.
Yeah, and I would say again, you have to look at the organization. What are the rules? Are you following the rules? Or are you not following the rules? According to techtarget.com, they said most First Amendment experts say that the constitutional right to free speech does not apply to private institutions. So that would indicate that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are all within their legal right to remove accounts or to stop speech as they see fit.
Yeah, exactly.
They were quoted saying, "Today, there's nothing that prevents any social media site from banning any individual user whose post they dislike." And that was from Gregory Sullivan, a First Amendment lawyer and professor at Suffolk University Law School.
Well, you shouldn't be able to disable somebody just because you don't like them. But there are people out there that have sued people because they don't like them.
Yeah. Well, and it's different if you and somebody are having a conversation outside versus I'm using whatever social media platform as a vehicle to get my message across. So essentially, people can say whatever they want without the company being held liable. However, the company can decide whether or not to allow it or to allow it to continue.
Yeah. Both are legal.
Mm-hmm. So again, no shirt, no shoes, no service. And across the street, they may say, hey, no shirt, no shoes. We don't care.
Yeah, come on in.
It's
so show us your crab eyes.
Crab eyes, welcome. Hairy toes, not welcome.
Yeah, more the merrier.
Yep.
In your shoes.
I think part of it is people, and this is going to sound bad, but people get in their feelings very easily.
How does that sound bad?
Well,
I think you're 100% right.
Because, so these social media platforms, they're not rights, right? Like it's not I have a right to post on this platform. No, I signed up. I made an account. I signed up for the thing. I agreed to whatever the community standards are. And then I start posting or liking or commenting or whatever. If I don't like the rules, then I don't make an account. And I find somewhere that I do agree with and I make an account with that organization instead. Or I make my own.
Yeah, I was about to say, or create your own.
But I think a lot of folks, it's almost that sense of entitlement. You know,
I think Americans have that sense of entitlement.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think we're the loudest ones on the social media platform, spitting out how the big tech is reducing our freedom of speech and not letting me say what I want to say on your platform.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I could be wrong. It could be other folks, but I think Americans are the loudest.
No, I agree with that. We tend to be the loudest, and you know, the soup of the day changes every day.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's called the soup of the day, not soup of the week.
Right.
All right, man. Well, it's a good show.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on and talking about it and discussing these things. And if you have an opinion about what we talked about, go ahead and write to the show. Yeah,
please do. We're both very interested in what you'd have to say. Hopefully this was thought-provoking and got you to think a little bit, maybe see different perspectives, whether you agree, disagree, have your own thoughts, whatever. This is just what we think.
Yeah. And we will catch you later.
Adios.
Bye. As always, we'd like to say thank you for stopping by and listening to the podcast.
Yeah, we realized that you could have been doing anything way more productive, but you chose to waste your time with us.
We look forward to talking about absolutely nothing with you next time.
If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please email us at
jtandrewshow@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/jtdrewshow.